He is the last person alive who knows what really happened on the Splendour that night. But at 94 years old, is Robert Wagner finally ready to let the secret out? For decades, one missing piece of evidence has stayed hidden until now. November 28, 1981. A dark, freezing night off the coast of Catalina Island. The water is pitch black, the kind of absolute darkness that swallows light and sound entirely. A luxury yacht bobs in the rough current. On board are 4 people. By morning, one of the most beloved actresses in Hollywood history will be found floating face down in the Pacific Ocean, dressed only in a flannel nightgown, a down jacket, and wool socks. Natalie Wood was terrified of dark water. It was a phobia that defined her life, rooted in a childhood fortune teller's prophecy that she would die by drowning. So why would a woman paralyzed by the fear of the ocean willingly climb down into a small inflatable dinghy in the middle of a freezing, pitch-black night? The official story tells us it was a tragic accident, but the official story was a lie. To understand the gravity of this deception, we have to rewind to the days leading up to the tragedy. Robert Wagner and Natalie Wood were Hollywood royalty. They were the golden couple, possessing a magnetic, old-world glamour that captivated the public. They had married, divorced, and miraculously found their way back to each other, remarrying in what seemed like the ultimate triumph of true love. To the outside world, Wagner was the consummate gentleman, charming, urbane, and deeply devoted to his wife. But behind the closed doors of their yacht, the Splendour, a very different dynamic was playing out. That Thanksgiving weekend, they invited Natalie's brainstorm co-star, Christopher Walken, to join them. This was a fatal miscalculation. Walken was at the height of his career, charismatic and intensely focused, and his chemistry with Natalie was undeniable. As the weekend progressed, a suffocating tension settled over the yacht. Wagner's legendary charm began to crack, giving way to a dark, consuming jealousy. The trio, along with the yacht's captain, Dennis Davern, spent the evening drinking heavily at Doug's Harbor Reef, a restaurant on Catalina Island. Witnesses reported extreme intoxication and simmering hostility. When they finally returned to the yacht, the powder keg was primed. The narrative we were sold for decades was that Natalie simply slipped. That she went out to the deck, perhaps bothered by the noise of the dinghy hitting the hull, tried to retie it, lost her footing, and fell into the freezing water while the men oblivious inside continued their evening. But when you look closely at the physical evidence, at the psychology of the people involved, and at the systematic cover-up that immediately followed, that narrative completely falls apart. Let us break down the exact timeline of that night, because the devil is in the details, and the details of this case point directly to a massive cover-up. At approximately 11:30 p.m., a violent argument erupted in the yacht's salon. We know this because Robert Wagner himself finally admitted, after years of denial, that he and Walken had a furious dispute. Wagner was enraged by Walken suggesting that Natalie should focus more on her career than her family. In a fit of absolute fury, Wagner picked up a wine bottle and smashed it violently across a coffee table, screaming at Walken, "What are you trying to do? Sleep with my wife?" Walken retreated to his cabin and locked the door. This leaves only 2 people awake and interacting in the main cabin area, Wagner and Wood. Following the shattered bottle, Natalie left the room in disgust, heading toward the master stateroom. Wagner followed her. This is the critical window. From the moment they stepped out of the main salon to the moment Natalie ended up in the Pacific Ocean, Robert Wagner is the sole surviving witness. For years, Wagner claimed he simply went to check on her, found she was missing, noticed the dinghy was gone, and assumed she had taken it to shore. But let us apply basic logic here. It is past midnight. It is raining. The water is choppy and freezing. Natalie Wood cannot navigate a motorized dinghy, nor does she want to. She is wearing a bulky red down jacket that will soak up water like a sponge. The idea that she would launch the valiant dinghy herself, in the dark, to escape an argument is not just improbable, it is practically impossible given her lifelong, paralyzing fear of dark water. Furthermore, witnesses on a nearby boat, the Capricorn, reported hearing a woman crying out for help. They heard a voice screaming, "Somebody please help me, I am drowning." They also heard a male voice calmly responding, "Take it easy, we will be over to get you." The official investigation dismissed these cries as a party on another boat, but the acoustics of the cove on a quiet night are highly precise. But wait, stop right here, because everything you think you know about her final moments is about to change. For over 30 years, the world accepted the coroner's conclusion of accidental drowning. But what if I told you the original autopsy report contained a horrifying, glaring anomaly that was completely ignored? In 2012, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department reopened the case, and they discovered something that changes the entire story. Natalie Wood's body was covered in fresh, unexplained bruises, dozens of them, bruises on her arms, wrists, and knees, a significant scrape on her forehead. And most chillingly, forensic pathologists confirmed these injuries occurred before she entered the water. She did not get bruised bouncing against the yacht and the waves. She was grabbed. She was assaulted. She fought for her life on the deck of the Splendour before she ever hit the freezing ocean. And the man who stood on that deck with her is running out of time to explain why. This forensic revelation shattered the illusion of the tragic accident. The bruises tell a story of a physical altercation, a struggle that aligns perfectly with the timeline of the smashed wine bottle and the raging jealousy that consumed Robert Wagner that night. When the Los Angeles coroner officially amended her death certificate from accidental drowning to drowning and other undetermined factors, it sent a shockwave through Hollywood. But the medical evidence is only half of this new, terrifying puzzle. The other half comes from the yacht's captain, Dennis Davern. For decades, Davern towed the company line. He corroborated Wagner's story, kept his head down, and remained loyal to his powerful employer. But the burden of that night slowly crushed him. Davern eventually broke his silence, confessing that he had lied to the original investigators. His revised account paints a damning portrait of Robert Wagner's actions during those crucial, fatal minutes. Davern stated that after the wine bottle was smashed, he heard Wagner and Wood arguing fiercely on the aft deck. He heard a struggle. Then, sudden, deafening silence. When Davern went to the deck to check on them, Wagner was there alone. Davern asked where Natalie was. According to Davern, Wagner looked at him, sweating and disheveled, and said, "She is gone." But here is the most incriminating detail of all. When Davern immediately moved to turn on the yacht's powerful searchlights and start the engines to look for her, Robert Wagner stopped him. He explicitly ordered the captain not to turn on the lights. He told him not to call the Coast Guard. Instead, Wagner poured them both drinks and said they should wait and see if she came back. They waited for over an hour before finally radioing for help. An hour. In freezing water, a person loses motor function in a matter of minutes. By actively preventing a search, Wagner practically guaranteed that whatever happened on that deck, Natalie Wood would not survive to tell her side of the story. The psychology of this silence is almost as baffling as the crime itself. How does a man continue to live a highly public, celebrated life with this kind of shadow hanging over him? Robert Wagner did not just survive the scandal, he thrived. His PR machine was an absolute masterclass in narrative control. He leaned heavily into his grief, playing the role of the heartbroken widower to perfection. He continued to secure major roles, charming new generations of audiences in the Austin Powers franchise and the hit television show NCIS. He constructed an impenetrable fortress of wealth, status, and legal protection. And yet, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department officially named him a person of interest in 2018. Lead investigator Ralph Hernandez stated unequivocally that Wagner has constantly changed his story and that his version of events simply does not add up. But investigators face a massive hurdle. Time. The physical evidence from 1981 was not collected with modern forensic standards in mind. The boat has been cleaned, sold, and remodeled multiple times. The original coroner, Thomas Noguchi, made critical errors in preserving tissue samples. They cannot prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Wagner pushed her. What they do have is a circumstantial case built on extreme behavioral anomalies. Any homicide detective will tell you that innocent people desperately want to find their missing loved ones. They scream for help. They shine every light they can find. They jump into the water themselves. They do not pour a scotch and wait in the dark. Wagner's refusal to cooperate with the modern investigation, his complete stonewalling of detectives since the case was reopened, speaks volumes. It is the behavior of a man guarding a deeply incriminating truth. To fully grasp the magnitude of this cold case, we must look at how modern forensic science deconstructs the environment of the Splendour. Let us evaluate the physics of the fall. The official 1981 narrative suggested Natalie was trying to secure the dinghy because it was banging against the hull and keeping her awake. But the dinghy was tied to the stern, while the master stateroom was near the bow. It is highly unlikely she could even hear it over the sound of the generator and the stormy sea. Furthermore, the swim step at the back of the boat, where she allegedly fell from, was slippery and covered in algae. If she simply slipped and fell, we would expect to see a single point of impact injury. A bruised tailbone, a cracked rib, a singular contusion on her head from hitting the step. We would not see defensive wounds. We would not see grab marks on her arms. We would not see scratches on the side of the dinghy that indicate a desperate, prolonged attempt to pull herself out of the water while wearing a down jacket that had absorbed up to 40 pounds of seawater. That jacket acted like an anchor, slowly pulling her down into the abyss she had feared her entire life. And while she was fighting this agonizing, terrifying battle just yards away, the men on the boat did absolutely nothing. Whether Robert Wagner physically pushed her, or whether she fell during a violent struggle and he simply chose to let her drown, the moral culpability remains the same. In the eyes of the current detectives, he is responsible for her death. We are now standing at the absolute edge of this timeline. Robert Wagner is in his mid-90s. The window for justice, or even just a deathbed confession, is closing by the minute. He has outlived the original investigators, he has outlived the sensational headlines, and he has spent the last 40 years outrunning the ghost of Catalina Island. Will he finally break his silence before the clock runs out? Or will he take the final truth of what happened to Natalie Wood to the grave, sealing this as Hollywood's darkest, most untouchable mystery? The answer may lie in the very nature of a man who built his entire life on playing a character, hiding the reality behind a charming smile. But Natalie Wood is not the only star whose glamorous life masked a deeply sinister end. If you think the cover-up on the Splendour was chilling, you need to see what happens when the entire studio system conspires to hide a murder right in the middle of Beverly Hills. Keep watching, because the story of Hollywood's golden age is paved with secrets they never wanted you to find.